Hi, this is Frank Shamrock, MMA legend, UFC superstar, and you're listening to MMA Crib Fighting Talk.
Gregory Stone, MMAcrib.com. On today's show, I'll be speaking with MMA Ring Card Girl, Jade Bryce. Jade's contract with Bellator MMA recently came to an end. That was roughly just over a week ago now. Hopefully we can delve into that with Jade today, among other things, of course. But before we get to all that, welcome to the show, Jade.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, Jade. Okay, Jade, first and foremost, can you clarify to the listeners just when your Bellator contract did come to an end? I did mention it was just over a week ago. I believe it was just before Christmas.
Sorry? I'm so sorry. I didn't understand the last part of that question.
Could you clarify when your Bellator contract actually came to an end for us, please?
Oh, when it ended would be the day after Christmas. It was the 26th.
Did you want to renew your contract with Bellator MMA, Jade?
What was the last two words? Sorry, was about Bellator?
Well, obviously, you got the news on Boxing Day, which is pretty tough that they're not going to renew your contract. I want to know your mindset on renewing your contract with Bellator. Did you want to renew your contract with Bellator MMA and stick with them throughout 2015?
I wanted to stay with them as long as they would have me. And I definitely want to stay in the sport as long as the, fans will have me around. My contract was up and they just did not choose to renew it. And when we talked, they didn't, I didn't exactly have a reason, but after talking, it sounded like it was better for us to go in our own separate directions. I'm pretty sure they've, already replaced me, and I've gotten some offers from two other leagues so far that I'm just, discussing start dates with, and all the good stuff about what details and things that so I can decide. But I'm excited about the future, and Bellator was making a lot of changes already.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really going to be the same anyhow. A lot of the people that I felt like were my family are no longer with them anymore either. So as sad as it is, either way, it was going to be a big change this year, And I have said in previous interviews, and I'm still, choosing to think this way, that everything is always as it should be. If Bellator releases me and I'm with another league, then that's where I'm meant to be. So I'm just going to choose to be excited about that, even though it's a huge change for me, which is scary. I'm just going to kind of go full force into it and hopefully keep the fan base that I have, because I love trying to be a positive influence and doing the fundraisers I do with them, and continuing that. And if for some reason I don't go with any of the other leagues and I'm no longer involved in MMA, then as heartbreaking as it would be, I've just got to take that as the next step in life as well.
Well, you mentioned a lot of the changes. Obviously, Scott Coker is bringing a lot of changes for 2015. He already announced that he has big plans. You notice that he bought the stage and the screen. He's changed a lot of the production values. He's changing the roster dramatically. I noticed he's bringing in a lot of fighters on one-fight deals. Bubba McDaniel, Ultimate Fighter veteran, etc. This is what sort of gets me. They haven't released Mercedes Terrell yet. Do you sort of take offense to that? There's nothing wrong with Scott Coker making his own changes and bringing in his own ring girls, but he sort of kept one of the original ring girls at Bellator and got rid of one. Do you sort of take any offense to that?
As far as the screens and all that, I thought that was a really positive change, although it was a lot like some other leagues. I know that they're only doing that for super shows. So I don't think that's a every week thing, or every event thing. But as far as the fighters, I know that some were released that I thought were great, and I'm not sure who they've added on. As far as keeping Mercedes, it's easy to get offended in life with things like that, and you've got to always just remind yourself that it's not in every industry, but especially the entertainment industry, you have to always remind yourself to not take anything personal. And it was really hard, of course, to not take that decision personally because, we're the same age. We have the same fan base, the same size fan base. So it was hard to not think too deep into that. And, well, what's different about me? Why me? And, other people can whisper things in your ear that make you think that, some things behind the scenes went down or something. But if I've learned anything in this industry, it's to not take anything personally. So as hard as it is to not think into it and keep asking why, that's, I feel like, all I can really do. But, yeah, she will continue on with them, and, that's exciting for her. I know that, she was on one season before me, so I don't know if that gave her some seniority to where they wanted to keep one and then alternate the other, or have a new one just for a fresh face, and they chose to keep the one they had the longest, or what. But,
do you think they could have just added a third? Sorry to cut you off, Jade. Do you think they could have added a third ring card girl? Because the UFC have 3 ring card girls. Sort of, they could have kept you and added a third one. Just how many ring card girls do you think MMA promotion actually needs, in your opinion?
Well, we always had 2, and then on the big fights, we had a third one. And I know that UFC has quite a few now. And I'm not sure, I feel like when you have 2 and they're consistent, I feel like that's a better promotion to the brand, because you have 2 people who are constantly being a brand ambassador, and constantly building their fan base, which is building your fan base. I think that's really smart. I also can see, though, that when you alternate, that you're getting different types of promotion, different fans seeing it, and things like that. So I can see it both ways. But I do think that, like, a consistent face is always, to me, I think it draws in more viewers. I know that there were people, as far as what they said, there were a lot of people who said that they tuned in just to see us, and that was always a great feeling. Hearing the loyalty from our fans, but maybe if it's a girl who are going to bring in people who normally wouldn't watch it because she's only on that show, So I'm not really sure from a marketing standpoint which one is more beneficial. But I think that they're going to have her on every show and maybe alternate girls throughout. But I honestly, I can't even confirm that because I'm not sure.
You mentioned about the changes. Obviously, it is Scott Coker. Bjorn was released about 6 months ago, relieved of his duties, whatever you want to say. Do you sort of feel like he would still be with Bellator MMA if Bjorn Rebney was still the president?
Yeah, I had thought about that, actually. I do think so. There's mixed opinions of both CEOs, but I feel like Bjorn always had my back and that he was always a cheerleader to me. And Bjorn was the one who chose me as a ring girl, even though some people may have not liked my look. He was he thought that it was perfect for what he was going for. So I feel like I can't say for sure, but I feel like considering how good our professional relationship was and how much he rooted for both Mercedes and I and our dynamic together, I feel like I probably would still be on the team, but I can't say for sure.
Well, you talk about it's better to have, just 2 ring card girls. You mentioned that the fans tuned in just to see you 2 mainly. It's really strange because, to me personally, when I heard the news that you would no longer be with Bellator MMA, every time I watch the Bellator event, because obviously it's aired in the UK on the Viva channel, it's on Channel 5 Star now, but at the start of every pay-per-view or every event, you and Mercedes would sort of walk to the cage, you'd be the opening of the show, so it's really weird. It's all, in a way, it's sort of like your fixtures. You know, it's like you're part of the furniture at Bellator MMA, so it's really weird. Obviously, it's not just myself, it's not just you who's probably surprised by this, but a lot of the fans. You've received a lot of support from the fans who sort of not been too happy about your release from Bellator MMA. Just how's the fan support struck you?
What was the last sentence? Sorry.
How's the fan support struck you? Obviously, they've been very supportive of you.
Yeah, and
you know.
actually, I'm not sure what the response was when we no longer had Bjorn. I didn't really see much of a response coming into my social media accounts, but I'm not sure what came into his or Bellator's. But as far as me being released, I know that there was quite an uproar, and that was very unexpected to me. I mean, I of course thought that people would be supportive and say that they were going to miss me and that it wouldn't be the same, but I really didn't expect, for there to be so many blogs written and it so much on the news feed of MMA, or for Bellator to catch so much grief. I know that they definitely had a lot of negative feedback and a lot of grief over it the first couple of days after I had announced that I was no longer with them, and that was very frustrating for them. But I definitely didn't mean to light that fire. I definitely appreciate all the support, and it means so much to me. And I think it's probably one of the reasons why I've already got 2 other job offers. But I definitely didn't mean to put any Bellator's the bad guy out there. But it's still, so many people being upset about it, of course, really warms my heart. If I announced that and no one really said anything, or if no one was even disappointed, I would probably be, pretty sad, because I was, at every event for the last 4 years, and it would make me wonder if people even knew that I was there, and I try to be such a good ambassador to the sport. And I'm such an avid fan of the sport. So it's very heartwarming that, I have such loyal fans in it, and that people care so much. I know that even I saw a couple MMA personalities that are pretty well known tweet that they've never seen such an uproar over someone being released from a league, and I'm not even a fighter, or someone who is actually entertaining. I'm just the ring girl. So that was really cool and really heartwarming. It means a lot to me, and I'm always gonna remember that as taking some of the sting away.
Well, speaking of job offers and the fans uproar, obviously Bellator MMA, they thought they was moving on to pastures new. They was trying to benefit their brand moving forward in a way. Obviously, you've got to give the fans what they want in this game. So in a way, they might sort of be looking at, they've made the wrong decision by letting you go here. Obviously, Bellator right now, Bellator MMA, they're free to make you an offer. They're free to put you an offer on the table. I just want to get your take on this. If Bellator were to come to you this time next week or something and say, look, we made a mistake, the fans want you back, we'll pay you exactly the same what you was on previously, would you possibly go back to Bellator MMA?
Well, it's funny because that's exactly what happened with Brittany with the UFC. They released her, and there was an uproar, and I think something happened along the lines of Dana tweeting, "Who wants to see Brittany back cage side?" And it was so much support, positive support from all her fans, that she was back. Like, she had a contract the next week, So I know that that's possible. I don't expect that from Bellator, or think that that's the direction that they are looking to go in, especially considering the all the hateful responses that they've gotten. Maybe they want to, just even continue even harder because of it, to go in the other direction and try to make the fans feel like they made a good decision by whoever they hire. Maybe they want to try to prove that point. I'm not sure. But yeah, if they were to next week make me an offer to come back,
Entertain it?
Yeah, I think that I would negotiate some things that, you know.
Double your wages.
Yeah,
I
I
want
think I
double
would
money.
negotiate some things well, this was really difficult. Like, I'll come back and would love to, of course. I definitely want to stay in the sport. I even suggested working the super fights.
Yeah.
So I was hoping that they would use me in the future. But if I sign with one of these other leagues, of course, I won't be able to do that even. But,
Well,
I'm very close.
I think
Sorry?
Scott Coker said he wants to do about 6 super shows in 2015. I think the
Mm-hmm.
fans would really like to see one of them, to be honest with you, if that's the sort of thing you're talking about.
Yeah, that's something that I suggested to Bellator, and they didn't really give me they didn't seem to sway towards yes or no. They didn't really respond to it. So I'm not sure if that's something they're going to discuss or if that's something that's even open for discussion. But I think that it would be good promotional material for that super show. I do, as the recent week has shown, have loyal fans that would tune in for that purpose. So I think it would be smart I think it would be mutually beneficial. But yeah, as far as them offering me a new contract altogether for the year because of the fans' response, I think that, I would probably compare it to the offer I just received from the other league, because I did like where they were going with everything, and maybe try to negotiate to see which one would be mutually beneficial, and then go from there. But it definitely wouldn't be an immediate no. Really anything in MMA is never ever an immediate no for me. It's always something that I want to do. So.
Well, speaking about your fans, I've read a lot of the articles and a lot of the comments on Facebook that link to the article. If you've been released from Bellator, a lot of them have been calling for you to go to the UFC. Obviously, it's the biggest stage in mixed martial arts. You have mentioned there's some offers there. Just how long are you going to hold out before you make a decision on these offers? Are you sort of like potentially holding out for the UFC, or is there going to be a deadline to where you make a decision with the offers that you got on the table? Because obviously you can't leave them there forever.
Yeah, well, neither of these leagues have a fight in the next couple of weeks, so we do have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But as far as the UFC, I, of course, admire them for what they've made the sport. None of us would be here if it weren't for them. That's a dream job, working with the league. But I do feel like I have a very different look than the girls that they usually go for. I feel like we have different bodies and things like that. So I don't feel like I'm their type. But of course, if they gave me an offer, all other offers would be off the table, because that's the biggest one in the sport, and I want to stay in the sport. So I would definitely sign with them in a heartbeat. And I'm not waiting to see if they offer me anything before I sign with the other leagues. I'm just really trying to not rush into anything, because I do want to sign with someone, where I'm happy and can reach my highest potential in the sport with them. I definitely want to go up and go in a bigger and better. I don't want to move backwards.
Well, that takes me on to Ring Card Girl of the Year. Obviously, the annual World MMA Awards for 2014. That's coming up soon.
January 30th.
There is UFC Ring Card Girls in that. They're other potential nominees. Now, if you do win this and you are victorious over all these other Ring Card Girls from the UFC, would it be better potentially waiting until the annual World MMA Awards is over before you make any decisions to signing contracts with any MMA promotions? Because if you do win this, it sort of ups your value and ups your stock in terms of popularity, because this is voted by the fans, so I believe. So if the fans choose you, then obviously you're the most popular, and more likely some big offers will come in for you. So would it be better to wait until the annual MMA Awards is over?
Yeah, I haven't thought of that. I haven't thought about waiting until the awards are over, but I do think I'm not exactly sure if it's only if the award is only decided based off votes, or if it goes into the committee and things like that. I'm not sure if it's only votes, but I know that as we've discussed, like, I do have very loyal fans in the sport, so I know that they will be voting a lot. But I know as well that Brittany and Ariane do have a following twice as big as mine. So I'm not expecting to receive more votes than them. But I do think that if, due to the recent occurrence, that it would be a great way to maybe walk out of that situation is to have an award like that. And then also it would be kind of funny for an unemployed ring girl to win it. I think that would be kind of memorable. So that would be, of course, something that just like the fans' responses would take some of the sting away. But I hadn't thought about waiting until after that to make my decision. I'm sure it would help with whatever contract I'm going to sign. I'm sure that it would help with the contract if I did have that award, on my resume. But I'm not sure.
Jade, I've noticed that you mentioned this a lot, that you've been doing this for many, many years now. You travel to different countries. You go backpacking around. Now, I want to delve into this quick a little bit because from what I understand, you've been in some very tricky situations, put yourself in some potentially dangerous situations. So I wanted to delve into it near the end of the show. Could you tell us a little bit about your backpacking adventures? So we'll start with some of the countries that you visited first. Could you tell us some of the countries that you've been backpacking to over the years, please, Jade?
Sure. Well, I backpacked over 25, and Europe was pretty much what you would expect. Africa was heavily focused on volunteering, so I was getting in some, staying in villages in war-torn areas, so I was getting in some pickles. But I do feel like because I was doing what my calling was, I was, the universe took care of me. And then Southeast Asia was the most magical trip I've ever done, as far as the volunteering side and the adventure side. And then South America was just not my favorite. I don't think that I'm interested in revisiting. But I would like to do Southeast Asia again numerous times. My next bucket list place would be the School of Compassion in Tibet. They have a School of Compassion that you attend for a month, and that would be something that I would want to do next. But I think that the most shocking of all of them would have been Africa, just because it was war-torn. There were people, dying in front of me, and there were people in desperate need. It was the most need I've seen in anywhere that I've been.
Did you eat any monkey over there? Because they eat monkey over there. Did you eat any monkey? So it's a strange question, but did you eat any monkeys over there? Because they eat monkeys on the streets. Yeah, like in Africa, and they eat,
I saw monkeys in the jungle.
Did you eat any?
No, I didn't eat any.
That's what they do.
There's more monkeys in Southeast Asia than in Africa, but I don't think that in the area I was in they typically eat them.
Well, Jade, when I think of backpacking, I think of like in the woods with a survival knife, a tin of beans and some lighter fluid and just a lighter to light your fire, maybe your tent, rolled up in your backpack. So I don't know how hardcore you go. Do you stay in hotels when you go backpacking, or do you literally just take like a tent?
I usually stay in hostels that are anywhere from like $2 to $10 a night. But in Africa, the area I was in didn't have hostels, so I stayed in huts with families. And a lot of times you don't have electricity and you just use a lantern. I took a flashlight with me, so I used that to read. And nights that I stayed in tents, it was just me, a book, and a lantern, and it was really lovely.
What is it for you about backpacking? Is it just to get away from everything, everyday life, or is it sort of an adventure for you, an experience? What do you sort of get out of it, Jade?
It was.
Possibly meeting
I'm
new
not,
people too.
I think it's a little bit of both. It's to disconnect because my career has been so much connected to social media. It's one reason is to disconnect, and one reason is to connect to other cultures and to people in need, and shift my perspective and to unlearn some things that I've learned. So all in all, it's always to try to become a better person and just grow, and evolve, really.
I'll catch you for quite a while, Jade, so just 2 more questions to wrap things up. I had to ask you while I got you on, because I don't know when I'm going to speak to you again. I noticed that you got like this pizza, I don't know what you call it, some might call it a pizza obsession, a pizza love maybe. I understand that you have it a couple of times a week. Could you explain where this came from? When did you actually fall in love with pizza?
I don't know. My obsession with pizza, I just think that it's the greatest food on earth. I don't know. You can't be sad while you eat pizza. It's not possible. So, I don't know. It became a ritual, like eating it every Sunday with my roommates, and then it became like a comfort food. And I don't know. I just think that it's the best food. The way that you automatically love beach or chocolate. I just automatically love pizza.
Now, Jade, you've been a Bellator Ring Card Girl for, is it 4 years? Is that correct?
Yeah, 4 years. It was 99 fights.
99 fights. So you've got to have a memorable moment. So, Jade, could you tell us your most memorable moment being a Ring Card Girl for Bellator MMA? If you actually have one. There must be one out of 99 fights.
Yeah, the most memorable...
I noticed
think
that
it was two. There was one would have been the Eddie Alvarez versus Chandler fight.
Yeah.
Because it was the most intense fight I've ever seen in any league. That was the only fight that blood actually splattered on me. And it was just, it was action-packed from start to finish. They're, so well matched for each other. I love Will Brooks, and I'm glad that he's our champion right now. And I'm excited to continue to see him and Chandler fight, but I think that Chandler and Alvarez is always going to be the best fight you can watch. And now that they're in different leagues, we may not see that again unless, Chandler gets to the UFC. But also, there was a time that me and Mercedes were promoting some type of video game thing that Spike was doing, the Video Game Awards. And we didn't know that we were live, and so we were just talking on air, and then it got really confusing, and it was just, that was, I think, like, as far as memorable moments, that was pretty memorable for me because it was, we found the humor in it, but it was just pretty funny that they had the cameras on us and we were mic'd up, but we didn't know that we were live. We thought that we were rehearsing. So, yeah, I think that those two. But as far as fights, it would definitely be Chandler versus Alvarez.
You didn't say anything embarrassing, did you?
They asked me to take off my sweater because I was wearing a hoodie, and because we weren't live yet, I thought, and they asked me to take it off, and that's when I realized that we were live, and I think out of nervousness, I just said, "I'm holding a microphone," and it probably made me look like the biggest airhead ever. I don't know. It was a freak out moment.
I bet people at home on TV were thinking, what's she talking about? Okay, rounding out the show, Jade. Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans before we leave? Obviously, you've had tremendous support from them since you parted ways with Bellator.
Yeah, just thank you so much for all the support over the last 4 years, and for all of your loving and positive words throughout the 4 years, and then especially in the last week and a half. It's made all the difference in I've always tried to be a light to you guys, so I really hope to continue in that and for us to continue to encourage each other. But thank you so much for, all the love and support.
Okay, that's all for today's show from the MMA Quick Fighting Talk Show. Thank you for watching.